Welcome, Dr. Anshul. Okay.
Hello, hello, ma'am. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm so glad you're able to join finally.
Yeah,
Okay. So today we are going to discuss about cervical cancer. What are the causes for cervical cancer? How can we prevent cervical cancer? What are the screening methods that are available for cervical cancer? And what is vaccination for cervical cancer? What are the latest vaccines that are available? The moment I started posting this on the social media, I was getting a lot of requests from the viewers regarding what are the symptoms of cervical cancer and what is cervical cancer basically. That is what they wanted to know. So let's start with the basics. So
yeah,
what is
sure.
cervical cancer? How it is different from the uterine cancer?
Hello, everyone. We are going to start about the cervical cancer today. So, cervical cancer is basically the cancer of the uterine, the lower part of the uterus. It is different from the uterine cancer per se because the cells which are there at the cervix are little different from the cells which are present in the uterus. Also, the causative factors are different for both uterine as well as for the cervical cancer. So, what is cancer? We will start with that first. So, cancer is basically unregulated growth of cells. It can happen in any part of the body. So, cervical cancer is basically when the cells which are present normally in the cervix get replaced by the abnormal cells, and uninterrupted growth of those cells give rise to sometimes it can give rise to ulcer or a growth at the cervical region.
The
So
other
now
question
coming to the
yeah, everybody wants to know is like it is because of human papilloma virus. But is the
yes,
why if they are infected with human papilloma virus, like if they are positive for HPV, does it mean that they have cancer?
no, no,
Yeah.
no. HPV positivity does not mean that you have cancer. Basically, HPV positivity with the high risk screens, cervical, HPV virus has like hundreds of screens. So there are certain high risk screens which poses you to be at risk for cervical cancer. So in case you are positive for those high risk screens, then you should follow a little more, like you should be under close observation with your doctor, but it is not cancer. But you have very high risk of developing cancer in the future, so you should not basically ignore this HPV positivity in your pap test.
So what the madam is trying to tell us here, we have the uterus. So when the cancer occurs in the inside of the uterus, that is endometrial or uterine cancer, and when it occurs in the mouth of the uterus or the cervix, then it is called the cervical cancer. So cervical cancer is completely preventable. So before talking about prevention, let's talk about what are the causes for cervical cancer. Like as you have already told, it's HPV, but there should be some
HPV.
high risk behavior
Yeah.
which causes cervical cancer. So, what are the high risk behaviors that can cause cervical cancer?
So high risk behaviors are one is smoking. Smoking is a very big risk factor for cervical cancer. We all think that smoking only causes oral cancers or cancers of the throat or cancer of the lung, but smoking is one of the major factor of cervical cancer apart from HPV infection. Then coming to multiple sexual partners, if we have, so this is also one of the very major reason of cervical cancer. So, if we see broadly, more than 90% of the cases are because of human papilloma virus, and 10% of the cases will be related to smoking and multiple sexual partners.
And also, no, we see a lot of cervical cancer patients in two age groups. It will be either between 35 to 45 or it will be more than 60. So,
Yeah.
until in your practice, what kind of patients, like which age group you see the most?
We used to see like mostly 60 plus cases earlier, but now we are seeing more younger people also having this cancer. So the age group which we are seeing routinely in our clinics is shifting a little to the younger people, probably due to multiple other factors. Like if the patient herself is not smoking, there can be somebody else in the house who must be
Yeah,
smoking,
this
and
is
passive smoking
one
is,
point which
yeah,
we have to make. Like even
yeah,
passive smoking, these people are at risk of developing cervical cancer.
yeah.
Yeah. And the incidence, what is the incidence of cervical cancer in India and why it is increasing day by day? What do you
So
think is the reason for this increase in the incidence of cervical cancer, especially in the developing countries, when compared with the developed countries?
So one is coming to the first question first. So it is the second most common cancer of females in India, and every year we are seeing more than 7.5 lakh new cases every year in our country, and also about half of them die because of various factors, which can be late diagnosis or lack of treatment or some other factors like we see a lot of advanced cases also. Though cervical cancer is not something which will not give you symptoms, we are going to discuss about the early signs and symptoms also subsequently in our talk today. But we see a lot of advanced cases, and many of these cases sometimes are not amenable for curative treatments also. So we need to be aware about the signs and symptoms, also the preventive measures which are available.
Yeah,
Now coming to this,
yeah. There is a question from the audience. If you remove the uterus and if you leave behind the ovary, is there the risk of cervical cancer? But I think she is asking about the general risk of cancer. So, if
general,
you, yeah.
yes.
So
So she
usually,
wants,
when we do hysterectomy, we don't, for younger patients, when we do hysterectomy for benign condition, that is non-cancerous condition, we don't remove the ovaries, right?
yes.
Like less than 45, we don't remove the ovaries because
Yes.
they need the hormones
Yes.
for their future. So in that case, she is asking, is there a risk for cervical cancer after hysterectomy?
No. In case we are leaving the ovary, since see, you have to understand this is different from cervical cancer. Uterine cancer is different. Uterine cancer is a cancer which is hormone dependent, while this cervical cancer is a totally different entity. Your hormonal status, irrespective of your hormonal status, you can have cervical cancer. So whether you have the ovaries or you do not have the ovaries after the surgery, it doesn't matter because it has different etiological factors. Like human papilloma virus is a very big risk factor. As I discussed earlier, smoking is a risk factor. It is independent of hormones,
So
which are there in your body because of
the
it does
presence
not
of ovaries does not interfere with the development of cervical cancer.
no.
But in case you have removed your ovary in toto, because there are something like subtotal hysterectomy, in case you have removed the uterus completely along with the cervix, then there is no need to worry about cervical cancer actually. So,
Yes.
but what we will do for few patients, right? The smear, the area where we stitch, that's called the vault, that we do in patients for whom we have removed for malignancy.
Yes.
So otherwise, if you have removed the uterus for a benign condition and you have removed the cervix completely, there is no need to fear about the cervical cancer.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I would like to highlight the importance of visiting the doctor frequently for the vaccination and also for the screening and all. Because recently I had a patient who was just 35 years old. So she came to me with a complaint of having white discharge for the past 1 year. So she was just ignoring it, thinking that white discharge is common among ladies, so it must be some infection. So she didn't bother to come to the doctor. But then finally one day she came to me, and when I examined her, I was very shocked to see that she was having stage 3 cervical cancer. So it was very pathetic because she was having 2 younger kids, and nobody in her family had any clue about cancer. So I think we have to create more awareness about the screening. So when should you start screening for cervical cancer? And what is the right age to start screening for cervical cancer, and how is screening done? Here, Priyanka wants to know how it is prevented. So that's what we are talking. So the prevention starts with screening first.
So screening is basically what I have understood in so many years is people think that we should go for some test in case we have symptoms. So this is absolutely wrong. Screening is for people who absolutely are all right, who have no symptoms. If you have symptoms, then you have to go to the doctor without having a second thought in your mind. So screening is for people who are absolutely all right. So screening for cervical cancer, screening should begin at the age of 25 years. 25 years may we have to do a pap smear test. Pap smear test is a very basic test. We just have to take some fluid from the cervical region, and it is like when we visit a gynecologist, she does an internal checkup, and at the same time, she can take some fluid and send it for testing. So it is not an invasive test. It is not a painful test. It is very simple test which can be done on a OPD basis or in a clinical setting itself. We just have to send this fluid to the pathology lab for testing. There are two type of tests which we can done in that with using that fluid. One is simple pap test where we will see if there are any abnormal cells in that fluid, and if in case there are any, then there are different protocols which we have to follow. And another thing which we can check in that fluid is whether the human papilloma viral strains, high risk strains, are present in that fluid or not. So this is an optional test, though we recommend that since we know that cervical cancer happens because of human papilloma viral infection, so it makes more sense for us to do that test. But in case that test is not available, then we can send it only for the abnormal cells. So it is a very basic and simple test which can be done in a clinical setting.
Because here Dana wants to know if the pap smear test is painful. So this is what when
No, it
ladies
is
they
not
don't want to
painful.
come to gynecologist at all. No one wants to come to
Yeah.
gynecologist for an internal checkup because they think the internal
Hmm.
checkup is very painful. So I want to make sure that I want to tell this to every one of you, all the ladies over there. Pap smear test is a simple test. It is not at all painful. It might cause a little bit of discomfort, but it is not painful at all. So you can come ahead and get your pap smear test done once every 3 years. If you're doing along with the HPV DNA, then you can get it done once every 5 years. You
So,
start at least by the age of 30 and come and you have to complete the screening. You have to continue with the screening till the age of 65 at least.
65
So this
years.
is what is the
So
recommendation.
there is one more thing which I wanted to highlight. In case like you are compliant, you are visiting your doctor every 3 or 5 years on the basis of whether you are doing the simple pap test or you are doing it with HPV testing. So in some countries, like in some African countries, there are self testing kits also which are available
Yeah.
where you can send the that fluid for testing, and in case it is abnormal, you can consult your doctor. But
Actually, it
since
is
it is
come
not
in our
regulated,
place also.
yeah,
It has come in our place also in
yeah,
some hospitals. So they have
yes,
the self HPV tray kit.
yes,
So they can take it to their home and then they can do the collection by themselves. They need not go to a gynecologist. They can do the
yes.
collection by themselves and then they can go and give the sample to the particular
But
place from where they got it.
But
So
then, there is a catch in this. When we are doing it with a doctor, then it is the responsibility of the doctor to inform you whether this test is positive or not. But when you are doing it on your own, sometimes there are chances that you may not take it too seriously. Like if HPV is positive, or if you will not be knowing how to interpret that test. So, if you are doing it by yourself, then it is necessary for you to visit again with a doctor with that report, uh, just to find out what is the interpretation of that test.
yeah, I had one patient at the age of 75. She came to me with white discharge PV.
Hmm.
And on examination, she was having cervical cancer stage 1A. It was a very early stage cancer. So by pap smear only we diagnosed that.
Yes.
And then she went ahead with surgery and she is coming for follow-up for the past 10 years and she is very happy. So this shows that even if a woman is elderly, still by doing your screening, your chances of survival is increased a lot. So you have to come for screening. It's very good to have your routine screening once every 3 years. Because
And
if you
also,
the
yeah,
cancer will not go immediately, it is not going to become cancer. So you'll have precancerous lesions, then again it will take another 10 to 15 years for the cancer to develop. So you have a
yeah,
very big time there. You have a very big
yes.
duration there around 10 to 15 years where you can clear the virus. You can clear the virus, you can treat the precancerous lesions, and you can prevent from proceeding to cervical cancer. So this is one
And
point I wanted to make. I think you also
yeah,
will agree with
and
me.
also, why early screening is important, because as mentioned by Dr. Sridevi, if we are diagnosing it early, or if we are diagnosing it before developing the cancer, then we have lot of fertility sparing surgeries also, since the screening test we are recommending from the age of 25 onwards. So most of these females will be in childbearing age group also. So by if we are able to pick it up in an early stage, so we are able to preserve your fertility also. So your childbearing is not going to get affected by the having this HPV positivity or a precancerous lesion. So there are surgical advancements which can like preserve your fertility also, despite having a cervical cancer or pre-cervical cancer, if we are picking it up in the early stage.
Yeah, Virginia wants to know what are the types of radiotherapy and chemotherapy. I think before that, what stage of cancer requires radiotherapy? What stage of cancer requires surgery?
So, as we are talking about prevention, then screening, so we are aiming that we should be able to diagnose it early so that we can treat it surgically. But as the disease is advancing, like the more bulkier the disease you have, or we can say broadly, if it is stage 2 onwards, then the surgery will not be able to cure it. So the curative option is radiotherapy and chemotherapy and a combination of both of these, because in cancer, if we are not able to take out your cancer completely, then there is no point in going for surgery. There are a lot of patients who ask in stage 3 or stage 4 also, why surgery? You are not doing surgery. Why? What if we get it removed by surgery? So we are not doing surgery in bulky tumors because you have high chances that surgeon will not be able to remove it completely. So in cancer, if we are leaving something in your body, so that does not make any sense. So we treat them doing radiotherapy and giving chemotherapy along with that.
So இப்ப நிறைய பேர் வந்து some people who come to me, they ask வேற என்ன symptoms இருக்கு மேடம், like white discharge தவிர வேற என்ன symptoms இருந்ததுன்னா it shows that I'm having cervical cancer, I should be worried அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு they ask, because white discharge, they think it's infection. There are also few other symptoms which can cause problem. So வேற என்ன symptoms இருந்தா they should worry?
So symptoms mainly, one is white discharge per vaginum, या आपको bleeding per vaginum, heavy bleeding per vaginum, या आपको वो हो रहा है intercourse करते हुए suppose you have bleeding, or there is bleeding apart from your normal regular menstrual cycles. So any abnormal vaginal bleeding.
So bleeding in between your periods. இப்போ உங்களுக்கு cycle ரெகுலரா வருது ஆனா நடுவுல you are having bleeding அப்படினா வந்துட்டு you should come and meet the doctor. That is called intermenstrual bleeding. அடுத்தது வந்து postcoital bleeding, that is bleeding after having sexual intercourse. That is a very very important symptom of cervical cancer which you should never ignore. And the other thing is, as you know, white discharge. Sometimes சிலருக்கு வந்து ஒரு back pain இருக்கலாம், something like they might lose weight or they might not feel well. There are so many other symptoms, but the most common symptoms வந்து வெள்ளப்படுறது, அடுத்தது வந்துட்டு உங்களுக்கு bleeding வந்து in between your periods உங்களுக்கு bleed ஆறுது, abnormal bleed ஆறுது, and also உடல் உறவுக்கு அப்புறம் bleed ஆறுது. So all these are very important things to note when you think about cervical cancer.
One more very important point, what we see in a clinical practice, females who are ranging from 40 to 45 years of age, their symptoms are the most which gets ignored. Because why I'm saying is because when they have this abnormal bleeding, the gynecologist usually says, or somebody, their patient's friends or their relatives will say, see, you are nearing menopause, so this can be a normal symptom related to menopause. So we see a lot of patients where this abnormal bleeding, though they will have this symptom, but since they also will be told by their relatives or their friends, see, I also had this when I was nearing menopause. So this symptom is the
this is one thing most of our ladies ignore, because after 40 usually வந்து எல்லாருமே ரொம்ப பிஸியா இருப்பாங்க. Children would have gone to college or they'll be in +2, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு நிறைய family commitments இருக்கும். அப்ப வந்து they give least importance to their health. So நிறைய டைம் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து கேட்கும்போது எனக்கு ப்ளீடிங் irregular இருக்கு அப்படின்னா வந்து எனக்கு மெனோபாஸ் ஆக போகுது, அதனால ப்ளீடிங் irregular இருக்குன்னு நினைச்சேன். That is what they say first. So what I usually tell my patients is, நீங்க வந்து whatever bleeding you are having, even though you think it is because of perimenopausal symptoms, just have a checkup with the doctor. Let the doctor say. let the doctor do a pap smear, let the doctor do a pelvic scan. அதெல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு if everything is normal, your hormones are normal, அப்படி இருந்தது அப்படின்னா then it's okay. You can think that it's because of
Yes.
the perimenopausal period, because of the hormonal fluctuations. But don't take like without seeing all these things, without having your pap smear, இதெல்லாம் பண்ணாம நீங்க டைரக்டா வந்துட்டு இது வந்து எனக்கு மெனோபாஸ் சிம்டம்னு தயவு செய்து நினைக்காதீங்க. Because this is how we are missing out on a lot of women who can be easily saved.
Easily saved, yes. They are aware also, but since they know that something wrong is going on in their body, but they also know that this female in our family was when she was nearing menopause, so she was also having this symptom, so they keep telling this to their, they ignore.
Yeah.
There is one more question related to, does this HPV vaccine completely cures cancer? So this is again a very misleading probably thing which is there in their mind. So HPV vaccine is not for cancer cure. It is for cancer prevention. Abhi jaise we all have seen during COVID pandemic, vaccine was given when we were not exposed to the COVID virus.
Yeah.
So it was not for the cure of COVID. So same way, HPV vaccine is not for curing cancer. It is for the prevention of cancer. So when should HPV vaccine be taken? HPV vaccine should be taken by girls who are 9 to 14 years of age is the ideal age when we should start giving vaccine to our daughters or our granddaughters in the family. But if you have missed this vaccine when you were in this age group, then you can take it up to 45 years of age by discussing it with your gynecologist.
And there
It
is
is
another
not for
question.
cancer cure. Yeah.
It's not for cure. It's basically vaccination for prevention of the disease. It's not for cure. And also, if you're, while doing the pap smear screening every 3 years, if there is a chance of any, if you get a chance of precancerous lesion or even stage 1 early cancer, the treatment is very simple.
Yeah.
So that is why we tell you again and again to have the screening, because the treatment is very simple when the cancer is detected at the early stages or in the precancerous period. So நம்ம கேன்சர் வரதுக்கு முன்னாடி நமக்கு ப்ரீ கேன்சரஸ் லீஷன்ஸ் வந்து சிலது இருக்கும். அது வந்து உங்களுக்கு 10 to 15 இயர்ஸ் இருக்கலாம். அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் டர்ன்ஸ் டு கேன்சர். சோ அந்த டைம்ல வந்து நமக்கு நிறைய டைம் இருக்கு. we can treat ourselves for the pre-cancerous lesion so that அது கேன்சரா மாறாது. இல்ல ஒரு ஸ்டேஜ் 1 கேன்சரா இருந்ததுன்னா ஈஸிலி நம்மளால ட்ரீட் பண்ணி அதை கம்ப்ளீட்டா வந்து கியூர் பண்ண முடியும். சம்டைம்ஸ் யூட்ரஸ கூட நம்ம ரிமூவ் பண்ண வேண்டியது இல்ல. there are also fertility sparing surgeries like ஒரு ஸ்டேஜ் 1A அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் இருந்தது அப்படின்னா வந்து you can go for fertility preserving surgeries. I mean not stage 1A but pre-cancerous lesions we can go for fertility sparing surgeries. So what is the you can throw us some light on the fertility sparing surgeries, like what stage it is done and who will get benefited of this?
So usually pre-cancerous stage, and when we are in early stage 1 cancer, there we can offer fertility preserving surgeries to the patient, where in case the family is not complete, they will be able to complete the family. Because why a lot of females are hiding their symptoms of abnormal vaginal bleeding or discharge is because they are fearing in case it turns out to be cancer, then they will not be able to bear the children. Yeah, so this thing should be very clear. In case we are able to pick it up in an early stage 1 disease, then fertility preserving surgeries are an option. So you should always discuss this option with your treating surgeon.
So you
whenever you are going
நம்ம remove பண்ண வேண்டியது இல்ல if it is pre-cancerous lesion or very early stage. So even after cancer treatment they can go ahead with pregnancy and have a baby. So அதனால நீங்க அதனால delay பண்ண வேணா. You should always come and meet a doctor if there is a doubt of if you have any of these symptoms. And there is a question.
Also there is one more myth related to the vaccine which I wanted to highlight, because last month I got a call from a patient who had HPV DNA positive in her pap test. So she said she had taken the vaccine. So she was thinking that HPV DNA, if it is positive, then by taking the vaccine, everything will be all right. So this is the wrong approach. Again, when HPV DNA is positive, then vaccine is not going to help you because you have already been exposed to HPV virus. So you should go for, as Dr. Sridevi had mentioned, because HPV DNA means that down the line you have risk of developing cervical cancer. So it takes about 10 to 15 years for it to develop. So you have to take preventive measures so that you do not convert it into cervical cancer. So
And
vaccine
let
is
us,
not going to help in that
yeah,
stage.
and let us make one point clear. ஒரு தரம் ஹெச்பிவி வந்துருச்சு அப்படின்னா அது கிளியரே ஆகாதுன்றது இல்ல. So 70 to 80% of the HPV infection clears by itself. So
Yes.
only the persistent HPV infection இருந்தாதான் அது கேன்சரா மாறும். So HPV வந்துட்டாலே if that நமக்கு infection வந்துட்டா it's not that it will definitely become cancer. It depends on
Yes.
your immunity, how far your immune system is able to clear the virus எல்லாமே இருக்கு. So இது
Yes.
HPV வந்துட்டாலே it's not going to become cancer. அதை ஞாபகம்
So
வச்சுக்கோங்க.
here the lifestyle changes also play an important role, where like if you improve your lifestyle, if you eat more whole food plant-based diet, if you take a proper sleep, if you work on your stress, so all these things can prevent your risk of having cancer. Apart from this cancer, it is going to prevent you from rest of the cancers also, which can happen due to various lifestyle related factors.
So lifestyle related factors நம்ம follow பண்ணும்போது like having a proper balanced diet, not smoking, avoidance of all kinds of risky substances including alcohol, smoking. அது மாதிரி அதெல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு and also along with that வந்து உங்களோட vaccination கரெக்டா பண்ணிக்கோங்க, உங்களோட screening கரெக்டா பண்ணிக்கோங்க. So as I already told you, screening once every 3 years. If it is not with HPV DNA, pap smear with HPV DNA பண்ணும்போது once in 5 years பண்ணா போதுமானது.
Yes.
There is a question from Muthu_love6. So she has asked if there is any possibility of endometriosis leading to uterine cancer. So endometriosis is a condition. Yeah, it is endometriosis is a condition where you will have endometrial tissue outside of your uterine cavity. There is a very, very small risk to develop endometrioid cancer in endometriosis, but the risk is really small, so you need not have to worry. But if there is persistent endometrioma and if there is suspicious endometrioma, then it is always better to send it for biopsy, because sometimes in a we can see a well differentiated endometrioid carcinoma inside endometriosis, although it is rare.
Yes. But with endometriosis, cervical cancer risk is not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is HPV vaccine prevent from cervical cancer completely? So I think we have already answered this question. So HPV vaccine is not to cure cervical cancer. And second question is, on which age is the best to administer HPV vaccine? So HPV vaccine best is when before the starting of periods. So before menarche, if we give it to our girls, so it is best, because after once they start having their periods, so the exposure to HPV virus can be there. So we have to give the vaccine before the exposure of HPV virus to our daughters. So best age is 9 to 14 years of age. It is given in 2 doses. In case we are not able to give till 14 years of age, then from 15 years onward, the doses are going to be 3. 0, 1 and 6. Yeah.
And Nandini wants to know, is there any harm after vaccination? Like, because everybody is worried because of vaccination, right? After the COVID vaccine. So is there any harm because of vaccination?
No. This vaccine is absolutely safe vaccine. It has been incorporated into vaccination program. Last year, our finance minister also advocated for this vaccine. This vaccine should be incorporated into our existing vaccination program also. Right now, there should not be any safety concern until or unless you are allergic to some component of it. Otherwise, it is totally safe. And one more myth, which I keep listening by the people why they have not taken vaccine, is because they think this vaccine can cause infertility. So this is absolutely wrong. There is no risk of having infertility by taking this HPV vaccine.
Here Mahalakshmi Ramkumar wants to know, vaccination எப்ப பண்ணலாம்? So already we have spoken, you can vaccinate வந்து நம்ம 9 வயது குழந்தைகள்ல இருந்து நம்ம பண்ணலாம். So it is better if you give the vaccine between 9 years and 15 years, even before their sexual exposure. அப்ப நம்ம கொடுத்தோம் 2 dose கொடுத்தா போதும். But if it is after the age of 15, then you have to give 3 doses. And எது வரைக்கும் கொடுக்கலாம்? Up to the age of 26 you can give.
Yes.
But இப்போ வந்து there are some vaccines which can be given even till the age of 45. Although the earlier you give, the results will be better.
So the more it will be having the efficacy. The later you take, the lesser will be the efficacy, but there are not going to be any side effects.
And also, Surya Shekhar wants to know, a lot of cancer comes up, but why is cervical cancer considered very important? Because it's preventable.
Because it's preventable, and also it is the second most common cancer of females. See, cancer, why it is every cancer is important, but why this is important? It is preventable, and also like the cancer which is preventable, we should not be losing females because of that, right? So losing female means we are losing one important family member of ours who can be like our mother, our sister, our daughter. So we should be like a simple vaccine can prevent it. So we should try to give vaccine, or people if who are not in the vaccination age group, they should go for screening tests.
Actually, Maheshwari Mohan, she wants to know till what age these vaccination can be given.
So this vaccination can be taken up to 45 years of age, but the sooner we take it, the more efficacious will it be. Yeah. So there is one question regarding the difference between radiotherapy and chemotherapy and types of radiotherapy and chemotherapy. So radiotherapy is basically giving high energy beams to the tumor, where we are not doing any sort of surgery for the cancer. We are killing it inside the body. So it is a painless treatment, but you have to come for it on a daily basis to the hospital. And chemotherapy is basically administration of certain drugs which act on cancer. So the way we give glucose or using the IV cannula, so chemotherapy will be given through that. But here the important point to note is there are a lot of patients who do not take the treatment because of the fear of losing hair because of chemotherapy. But the chemotherapy which we give for cervical cancer does not make you lose your hair, because it is a very slow, small dose of chemotherapy, and you do not lose your hair with that.
Yeah, very nice explanation. And there is one question which is unrelated to cervical cancer by it's Sandhya Sachu. So how to calculate ovulation day? My last period is on January 24. When is my fertile days? So it depends on your cycle. So if your cycles are regular, it will be usually the 14th day. But we will generally ask the patient to have intercourse on alternate days if they are planning for pregnancy. Don't only focus on the ovulation day. You have to have alternate day intercourse right after your periods, and that is how you have to go about. So if your periods are regular, your fertile period will be around the 12 to 16 days of your periods.
There is one question: bulky uterus a reason for cervical cancer? Absolutely not. No. So bulky uterus is not a reason for cervical cancer. Bulky uterus can be not the bulky uterus. Like if the female is bulky, she can have a risk of having a lot of other cancers because of high BMI. But bulky uterus per se is not a cause of cervical cancer.
And Muthu_love06, she wants to know, can vaginal infection leads to HPV?
Vaginal infections, since human papilloma virus is a sexually transmitted disease, so it can lead to cancer also. And so that is why the importance of screening is there. By doing screening, we are checking that fluid for the presence of HPV virus, because apart from rest of the infections, bacterial or fungal infection, the person can have coexisting human papilloma virus infection also. So it can lead to cervical cancer.
Thanks a lot, Anshul, for your very clear explanation. So we have few more questions. So we'll take those questions.
Yeah, sure.
So let us talk about the treatment of precancerous lesions. What is your take on cryotherapy, LEDS therapy, and cone biopsy?
So
these are the treatment which we do for patients who are before pre-cancer. And also in these treatment, we will not be removing the uterus at all. So they can have their baby, or they can become pregnant even after finishing the treatment.
Yes,
So let's hear
absolutely.
from Dr. Anshul about thermal ablation, cryotherapy, and LEDS treatment, and cone biopsy also.
So these are the treatments which are available in case you have a stage which is before developing the cancer, in case we are able to pick it up at that point. So whenever so first thing is, if you are in that age group, please take vaccine. So in case you have not taken vaccine and you are a little older, then please go for screening. Only then we will be able to pick it up in a stage about which Dr. Sridevi is talking about, where we are giving you an option where fertility can be preserved. So these options are available, and you should always discuss it with your doctor whenever you are going for, whenever we are able to diagnose it in a pre-cancerous stage.
Yeah. And also, what are the types of vaccine that are available? Now, recently we have even the indigenous vaccine from India which has come, and its cost is
Yes.
also low. So you throw
Yes.
us some light on the types of vaccines and what is your recommendation?
So human papilloma virus, as I had discussed earlier, more than 100 strains of human papilloma virus are available, out of which there are 4 strains which are mostly associated with cervical cancer. So we have vaccine against those 4 most important HPV viral strains which cause cervical cancer. So it is known as quadrivalent vaccine, which if we take, we can reduce the risk of having those 4 HPV viral exposures. So one vaccine is that. There was a bivalent vaccine also which was available earlier, but now it is not available. Now the next vaccine which is available is a nonavalent vaccine, which covers 9 HPV viral strains, which most commonly give rise to cervical cancer, and it covers 90% of the cases of cervical cancer which are due to HPV virus. So, quadrivalent vaccine and nonavalent vaccines are available. Quadrivalent vaccine is going to cost you little less. So, in case cost is an issue, you can go for quadrivalent vaccine because it is covering all the 4 major strains which are associated with cervical cancer. But if cost is not a concern, then you can go for nonavalent vaccine, which covers 9 strains. So, which gives you more like
Protection, yeah.
coverage,
And
protection. Yeah.
And in our country, actually, the incidence is increasing because the rate of vaccination as well as the rate of screening is
Yes.
very low. So actually,
Very
the
low.
WHO has even formed a strategy to
Yes.
increase the vaccination by 2030, right? That is
30.
70, 90,
Yes.
70.
70, 90. Yes.
Yeah. So at least 70% of the girls should be vaccinated, and at least
Vaccinated.
90% should be
Right.
screened, and 70% should receive treatment, something like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think with this intense awareness, we'll be able to reach that by 2030.
Yeah.
Because even if we start vaccinating our kids and ladies now,
Hmm.
the cervical cancer incidence is not going to reduce for another 100 years because the incidence is
Yes.
so high.
Yes.
So it's high time we have to create awareness on this very important topic.
So at least people like who are living in villages or in remote areas, where for them every 3 to 5 years of doing test is not feasible. So at least in their 30s, they should do a test at least once to see like if they have that HPV high risk HPV infection or not. At least once they should go for screening, and for doctors. We should make it like a must that they should take HPV vaccine, because
Virginia,
only then we will be able to reduce the incidence in future.
Virginia wants to know if white discharge with itching before periods is an indication for cancer. No, it's only vaginal infection. It's all the vaginal infection and white discharge are not cancer. But when you have vaginal infection and white discharge, I think you have to meet a gynecologist and get yourself treated for the vaginal infection. And if you are more than 30 years of age, after treating yourself for the infection, get your pap smear screening done.
So
And if
any
your pap smear
problem, any problem if it is persistent for more than a week, you should always consult your doctor.
Yeah.
You should not do self-treatment or taking medicines from the chemist without getting yourself examined.
And what are the indications for colposcopy? Because we send some patients whenever there is a lesion or pap smear shows some abnormality or some precancerous lesion,
Yes.
we also do a colposcopy. So, what are the indications for colposcopy and how does it help us in diagnosis?
So
Anshul,
colposcopy is basically a test where we visualize by magnifying the view using a scope. So where we go for colposcopy, sometimes like when we are examining also, we are not able to see any growth or abnormality in the cervix. So there we refer the patient for colposcopy where it can be like seen under a magnification. We put certain dye also, like in case there is some abnormal area which is picking up the dye. From there, we can take the sample and we can send those samples for testing. So it helps us in diagnosing those patients where there is actually no growth visible, but we are suspecting that it
like the
can be a
area
cancer.
might be abnormal.
Abnormal.
So those abnormal areas will be clearly visualized with a colposcope so that we can take guided biopsy from that place. So
And
that is
also,
why
if
we
there
do
is
colposcopy.
HPV positivity in your sample and we are not seeing any growth, there also colposcopy helps us in diagnosing the precancerous lesions.
What about vaccination for boys, which is a totally forgotten
That's
topic? Yeah,
Vaccination of boys should also be there. Why we are talking only about girls? Because in India, when we say something is available for both boys and girls, we always give preference
boys.
to boys. So that is why we are talking now, focusing our focus mainly for girls first. For boys also it is important because it is, as we have mentioned, it is a sexually transmitted disease. From boys also it can come to the girls. So for vaccine is important for the boys. It reduces the risk of transferring it to their partner. Also,
And
it
also it
reduces the
reduces
risk
the
of
risk of warts,
anal cancer,
benign
warts, anal
anal
cancers,
cancer and
cancer,
warts.
and also oropharyngeal cancers in boys.
Yeah.
So we have to give this vaccine to both boys and girls. But if you can afford only for one kid, then go for the vaccination of girls.
Girls, yeah. There are some countries which have already incorporated vaccination of the boys also in their
Yes.
routine vaccination schedule.
Even we are
Now India has,
giving it,
yeah,
even we are giving it to both boys and girls. But if the family can afford only one vaccine only for one, then preferably it should be taken by the girl child.
and also there are some studies which show that even one vaccine, like one pap smear test, or even without having the
Yes.
3 doses, even if you have the 1 dose of vaccine, it's definitely going to have
Yeah.
good effect rather than not having the vaccine at all.
Yes, yes.
So
WHO is coming up with a schedule where they are checking if when one dose of vaccination is also enough or not. Though right now the recommendation is to take two before the age of 14 years and three after the age of 15 years. But they are checking the efficacy of single dose vaccine also.
yeah. Thank you, Anshul, for a very nice discussion. And
Thank you.
I just want to sum up this session with a few points. So the first thing is screening is very, very important because this is a
Yes,
completely preventable cancer. So HPV vaccination and screening goes a long way in preventing cervical
yes,
cancer. That's very
yes.
important. The
Absolutely,
second
there is no
important,
replacement.
no
There is no
replacement
replacement to.
for this screening and vaccination. The second
Hmm.
point is vaccinate as early as possible, even before they start their sexual intercourse. Like you
Yes,
can vaccinate the children between 9 and 15 years, you need to give only 2 doses of vaccine.
yes.
Less than 15 years. After 15 years, it will be 3 doses, and it will be good if they can get themselves vaccinated before the age of 25. If
Yes.
not possible, still there is an opportunity for them to have their vaccine till the age of 45. So some
Hmm.
people have this doubt, if they have their vaccination done, then is there a need to do pap smear? Yes,
Yes.
definitely. Even
Okay.
after vaccination, they have to have their pap smear and HPV DNA testing once every 5 years, or only pap smear once every 3 years till the age of 65.
Yes.
So after removing the uterus for a benign condition, is there a need for screening? No.
Yes.
If they have completely removed the cervix, no need for screening
Then no
for
need.
cervical cancer. But in
Yes.
some cases, they will not remove the whole of the cervix. They will do a
Yes. Yes.
total hysterectomy.
There
In that case,
we
they have
have
to
to.
go ahead with screening. But if they are
Yes.
removing the uterus for a malignant condition, then they have to go
Then
with wall smear. That is, they have to go with screening. So you can also
yes.
throw some light on how often they should do the wall smear and how often they should meet a doctor after completing their cervical cancer treatment.
So, meeting your doctor regularly after completing cervical cancer or any cancer treatment is very important. People think that once the treatment is over, they need not see the doctor again. But unfortunately, you have to keep seeing us every now and then because it helps us in diagnosing your relapses in an earlier stage and also to manage the treatment related side effects in case you have any. So, it is very important for you to continue your regular follow ups. For initial few years, like for initial 2 3 years, the follow up is going to be like more frequently. But once the time passes, it will be like once in 1 year only. So you have to keep doing that throughout your life because it helps us in diagnosing your problems early, and also you can have a risk of other diseases also. So we are able to pick those problems in an early stage since we are focusing mainly on diagnosing the problems early and to prevent your suffering. So it makes more sense for you to continue the follow-up. We do annual void smear for patients like who get treated for cervical cancer in order to see like if they have any the presence of abnormal cells at the void. Because after the surgery also the void is the most common site for recurrence where
Yeah.
they can have a disease relapse. So we keep doing the void smears. We keep taking the void smears annually for those patients,
And what is the
along with the regular
yeah,
examination and scans.
yeah, regular examination scans, and they have to keep doing the wall smear.
Yeah, yeah,
And what is the 5 year survival rate when the cancer is diagnosed at an early stage and when the cancer is diagnosed at a later stage? Because this is very important. Uh,
yeah.
when it
So,
is diagnosed early, you please let us know what is the prognosis for the patient.
so as soon as we say the diagnosis of cancer, the first question is how much life do we have? So life depends on the stage of cancer in which you are coming to us. So in case you are coming to us in a stage 1, so you will have more than 90% chances that you will be alive after 5 years. But if you are coming in stage 4, then we also see despite doing everything, you have like 20-30% chances of cure. So the earlier you are coming, the more hope we will be able to give you. The earlier you are coming, the more better results you will have by taking the same treatments. See, if you are coming to us in stage 2, we will be giving you radiotherapy and chemotherapy followed by internal radiotherapy, and you will be having chances of cure by 80%. But if you are coming in stage 4A, we will be offering you the same treatment, but you will be having the chances of cure of only like 40% or 50%. So the same treatment will be offered to you, but with different lifespan,
Yeah.
with the different
So
survival
earlier
rates, you
the
can say.
diagnosis, your prognosis is better. So earlier
Better.
the diagnosis, the survival rate of the patient after treatment is very, very good.
And
So
also
it is,
sometimes it saves lot of money also. As
yeah,
we have discussed, if you are coming in stage 1A, so only surgery will be offered. You can save the money of radiotherapy and chemotherapy. So the earlier you are coming to us, the better are the chances of you surviving after the cancer, and the lesser will be your expenditure also. So it saves your money also.
me also. And Maheshwari Mohan wants to know, is this cancer genetic?
So, cervical cancer is not genetic. More than 90% of the cases are associated with human papilloma viral infections,
Okay.
and rest of the cases are because of smoking or multiple sexual partners, as we have discussed earlier.
Okay. So let's discuss about how the lifestyle modification plays an important role in all the gynecological cancers. You can throw some light on the lifestyle factors under cancer. Not only cervical
So,
cancer, but all the types of cancer. There is a very important role for the lifestyle. So let's
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about
So
it.
breast cancer is the most common cancer of females in India right now. And if we see, more than two-thirds of the breast cancer cases can be prevented by modifying our lifestyle. So important being is we should eat balanced diet. We should try to maintain our weight in a healthy range. We should also check our BMI. We should be physically active. We should stay away from smoking and alcohol because alcohol is a very strong risk factor for breast cancer and uterine cancer. Then also we should work on our stress level. Stress is not
In sleep,
directly
right?
related to cancer, but stress can give rise to unhealthy eating habits, and also we can have disturbed sleep, or we can
Actually, sleep,
we will not be
lack
so
of
active,
sleep. Yeah,
lack of
actually,
sleep, and we will
yeah.
not be doing any exercise. Sometimes we are in depression, so all those things can also give rise to cancer.
Yeah.
So it is very important for us to be following a healthy lifestyle if we want to reduce the risk of cancer in us.
Actually, lack of sleep is associated with some studies have related it to breast
Yes,
cancer, endometrial cancer, and prostate
yes.
cancer, and colon cancer, and so on, right? So it's always very important because sleep is one thing which is totally underrated.
And
So
also
we have to sleep
neglected.
well. Yeah, we have to sleep well. That's very, very important
And
because it
for
not only protects us from cancer.
females, they always compromise their sleep. Sometimes they have to like get up for their children. Sometimes they have to get up for their husband. So for you, it is very important for you to have a sound sleep. 6 to 8 hours of sleep is going to be enough, but it has to be like quality has to be good and quantity. The duration for which you are sleeping has to be good.
So, what will be the approximate cost of the treatment for stage one cancer, or maybe if you have to give radiotherapy and chemotherapy, maybe stage two? So, what will be the approximate cost of the treatment?
See, cost is going to depend on which setup you are going to take it. In private setup, it is going to cost a little more. However, in various government setups, the treatment is absolutely free, and also there are a lot of schemes in each state also, which gives aid to cancer patients so that they can complete their treatment. So there are one more thing which I wanted to highlight is there are a lot of NGOs also which support cancer patients treatment, but they also support those patients where there are chances of cure.
Mm.
So they also make sure that you are coming to them for help when you have pretty good chances of cure. So there also it is important for us to diagnose it early so that we say that this patient has this much chances of cure. Only then they sponsor the patient. Otherwise, they say if the patient is going to die, then we would be rather giving this money to the person who has better
Chances of
survival.
survival.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Are
So
there any?
depends on the second.
Yeah, please complete it. Depends on
So
the stage of the disease, right?
stage, and also like which setup you are going to opt for your treatment. Like in private hospital, it can range from like 4 to 5 lakhs approximately to complete the treatment. But in government setup, like it can be a little less also, or
Yeah.
it can be
There's,
free also.
yeah, there is one more question we can take, and then with that we can
Hmm.
finish our discussion. What are the,
Hmm.
this is asked by Amit Saini. What
Hmm.
basic things can we keep in mind in our lives to reduce the risk of cancer, especially for housewives?
So
First,
basic thing
that
is you
you
have
have to
to
have a stress-free living. That is what is one important thing.
indispensable, yeah. You should take care of diet. We should take more of home cooked meals rather than having junk food or processed food. Then second is staying away from tobacco and alcohol. Sometimes the female of the house may not be smoking, but if some other family member is smoking, so she has the risk of getting various diseases due to the passive smoke which she is inhaling. Then staying away from alcohol, then have a good sleep and a sound sleep, then staying physically active, maintain a healthy weight. So these things are important.
So even if you're a housewife and you think like you have a lot of work at home and you don't have time to take care of yourself, don't do that. Don't ignore your health. So always
Yes.
make sure that you have some time for exercise, cook healthy meals, and don't be the person who eats all the left out food at home.
Yeah.
So always cook for yourself and take care of your health and go for regular screenings. So we have told about the cervical cancer screening, but breast cancer screening is also important after the age
Yes.
of 40. You'll have to go for a
Yes. Breast
mammogram, and
cancer.
a self breast examination also can be done. So these are the two most common cancers which occur in women. So we
Yeah.
have to be very careful and have an annual medical checkup. So
Yeah.
that will go a long way in preventing us from cancer.
Yeah.
And don't
And
ignore
also,
any symptoms. So suppose you have
yes.
any symptoms, you please go and visit a doctor immediately. So you can
And
only if you are healthy, you can take care of your family. So
and also we
I
can
think,
fix a date every year, like our birthdays or 1st
yeah,
January or some important occasion,
to have a
which we can
complete
fix for
checkup.
regular, yeah, for the annual checkup. So once we get the normal results, then the evening we can celebrate also.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Anshul, for this very
Thank
nice
you.
discussion. We got a lot of points. I hope all the viewers would have got a lot of important points today. So
Yeah.
hope
Thank
we will
you.
continue with this awareness series with
Yeah.
another set of program in a short while. Okay. Thank you so
So
much.
thank
So
you.
with this I will end
Thank
this
you, ma'am.
program.
It was
Thank
nice
you.
interacting with you and it like great questions,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
interacting with us. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.